What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin from Kevin's Corner. And I just got done watching a clip of a congressman from California trying to change up his assessment of the Hillary Clinton loss. Because apparently, Congressman Schiff confessed that under Obama, when all of this Russia collusion and interference stuff was going on, a lot more could have been done and should have been done to prevent it. But for some reason, it wasn't that serious or that important during that time. It's probably because they assumed that Hillary Clinton was going to win, and it wouldn't make any difference anyway. The Russia situation will only be a problem if somehow she lost. And go figure, she lost. And what happened? Everybody began to act like Russia was the worst thing that ever happened to the United States, and we had to rally the troops and blow the trumpets and go to war immediately, crack open the nukes because we're at war. Now, what kills me is now that the whole Russia collusion and the whole Russia interfered and messed up the whole election is falling apart, they're trying to change it now and say, well, you know, it wasn't Russia that made Hillary lose. It was James Comey. The same James Comey that the Democrats persecuted and said that he was horrible for coming out and saying that Hillary was under an investigation at the last moment, is the same James Comey that they got upset that President Trump fired because of how he handled the Hillary Clinton investigation. I call that two-faced. I call that kind of hypocritical, you know, or how about this? How about bias based on how it accommodates your narrative? That's probably more like what it is. So anyway, now all of a sudden, the congressman from California, I didn't take the time to learn his name. It doesn't matter. But he was saying things like, well, yeah, it wasn't because of the Russians. It was because of Hillary Clinton and James Comey coming out and making that announcement. And that's why she lost the election. The reality of it is she lost the election because she was a garbage candidate. When are they going to go ahead and face the facts? Now, here's the biggest problem. So you had these alleged Russians that interfered in our election, which really did not impact the election one way or another. It was an attempt to sow nothing more than confusion and discord within the American Democratic and Republican system that we operate under, which they did. And of course, even to this day, the Democrats and the liberal media is still complicit with helping the Russian hackers or the Russian government or Vladimir Putin fulfill their goal and objective by still pushing and perpetrating this whole fake Russian narrative. I mean, they're falling right into their hands. President Trump said it the other day. He said, look, why are we letting them divide us? Well, they're letting them divide us because they hate Trump more than they hate Russia. They hate Trump more than they hate the fact that all of this division and arguing over the Russia collusion narrative is spending money, wasting tax dollars, not benefiting Americans. It is holding up progress. It is tearing our society apart. It's making the president's job harder. And it's almost like they were upset that these indictments didn't include Trump being accused of treason. Now, isn't that crazy? Why would you be rooting for the president of the United States to be found guilty of treason? That's how much they hate this man. They hate him more than they hate the office of the presidency. They hate him more than they hate the benefits that he's bringing to the American people. They hate him more than they hate the so-called Russians, because if they know that the Russians are trying to divide us and push this type of propaganda, but yet they're not ceasing and assist. It's like cease and assist, man. Stop. What are you doing? We already know their game plan. They wanted this to happen, and yet y'all are still pushing this propaganda. So you're complicit. So who's really doing the will of Vladimir Putin? It's not Donald Trump, because he said, let's chill. Now, this is the danger of all of this garbage that's going on. So now that we found out that Russia allegedly tried to interfere with our election, so what? Now what? What are we going to do? It wasn't such a big deal, because I'm listening to these congressmen and they're like, this is like worse than the attack on Pearl Harbor. We got to do stuff. Okay, what does that mean? Okay, when you look at what they did, they put out some bots, some advertisement. They organized a couple groups in America to try to rally against Donald Trump and against Hillary. They just played little silly games, to be honest with you. It wasn't even serious. So for us to dramatize this and overreact and try to push the president to react in such a drastic way to where he overcompensates to prove that he's not carrying water for the Russians, that runs such danger of us going to war over nothing. Because Russia is not going to stop trying to push their propaganda and interfere with our elections. The point is, are we dumb enough to let them? That's what it comes down to. And it seems like the Democrats and the liberal media are. Because all the people on the right, we all knew that this was a hoax. We all knew that we voted for Donald Trump not because of the Russians, but it was because Hillary was garbage. That's what we knew. And we still know that. But the people on the left are so upset all of a sudden. They hate the Russians. We knew that they were all behind this and they were our enemies for the last 50 years. But yet when Mitt Romney said, you know what, the biggest threat is the Russians, President Obama mocked him and laughed. Yeah, he said, what do you think this is, the Cold War? You know, that stuff is over. But now all of a sudden, Russia is the major problem. We got to do something. So what do they suggest we do? Sanction them, perhaps, maybe? Say harsh words to them? How about that? Write a letter telling them about our feelings? See, Russia don't care about that stuff. And we cannot allow propaganda, rhetoric, and some type of push from the left to make us overcommit and turn a neutral enemy. And when I say neutral, you got aggressive enemies that need to be dealt with immediately that are way bigger threats than Russia, like North Korea. But yet, for some reason, the Democrats feel like we got to do something immediately about the Russians. Yeah, because they lost. That's why. See, they feel the Russians played a hand in their loss, so now all of a sudden, we got to do something about them. So my point is, what? What are we going to do? We're going to go to war with Russia over a couple bots, over a couple Facebook ads maybe, huh? You know, at some point, you got to say, what's the collateral damage, the fallout from what they try to do versus what will be the collateral damage and fallout if we overcommit ourselves, overcompensate because of all of this media and democratic pressure? What's the fallout to that? If we take Russia to another level of aggression, you know, how about we just try to get even and interfere with their election? I mean, they got one coming up. I'm sure we're going to probably do some stuff too to mess them up. But going to war with them like the Democrats are trying to suggest, that's reckless. It's dangerous. They're not thinking about the American people. All they're thinking about is their pride. They're thinking about the fact that Hillary got her butt beat and they can't just admit she got beat because she was garbage. And the Democratic Party don't have a message. That's what it is. They don't have a message. So what they got to do is now come up with some type of justification to try to save face of their party. And they're doing it at the expense of soldiers. They're doing it at the expense of American lives. And it's dangerous and it's reckless. So let's get back to business. Let's put all this Russia garbage behind us. You've been listening to Kevin's Corner. This is my take on it. The plot thickens, but hopefully they'll come to reconcile within themselves. The reality is got their butts beat fair and square. Darn it. Look me up on Facebook. If you like this video, hit like, share it. If you want to donate to Kevin's Corner, the link's in the bottom to show you how to do that. God bless you. See you next time in Kevin's Corner.